Welcome to the Prostar Podcast. I'm so excited. So excited. We've been talking about this in our team meetings for months, years. We need a podcast. Well, guess what? We've got one now. And I'm even more excited as to where we're holding it. And I get to be here with Carrie Gove. And so we're going to do a little interview, talk to Carrie. But Prostar loves the work they're doing. We've supported it since day one. And I wanted her to tell you a little bit about it. But no, the Prostar Podcast is going to interview people in the community who are doing good while doing good, okay? Yeah. They're going to interview people in the community that care. They're going to interview business owners. We're going to interview business owners in the community that care and that do good while doing good. We're going to interview people on our team who are on the ground who are getting after it as well. So that's going to be our goal. But we're sitting in Carrie's studio.
Well, I know I was going to say it's my studio, but it is definitely TSP's amazing space that God just made sure we got a hold of this. You know, we're in a great location here in Everett. So
tell us about. I want to go all the way back at some point, but I want to hear a little about TSP.
Sure.
Like about this work that you're doing in the community and located in Everett, Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to kind of get things started, Mike and I have both worked with youth, really almost through our whole church membership time. We've been married going on 40 years. We have probably been going to church together that long, being involved in different things that are going on for the community. And when it came down to it, I got involved in a drop-in center in Snohomish. I was asked by our pastor, hey, these kids are going down the trail, they're getting high, what can we do to kind of do something for them and get them kind of in there and doing something different, maybe even distracting them from just going out and getting in trouble. So we opened this drop-in center in Snohomish. And I got to tell you, I'd been working with kids, but mostly through the church, and I had not really been exposed to kids that were, I would say falling between the cracks at school. Kind of kids that didn't have anywhere to go, not much to do, probably not a lot of parental support. But they started coming into the youth center, and we started talking, getting to know them, and it just seemed like they always. The story was always, I'm flunking every class except for shop. I'm flunking every class except for cooking. They were and what it began to realize is these were really kinetic learners. But they didn't have, so since they struggled with the visual learning style, they just weren't doing well in schoul. And then if they didn't have mom and dad at home, maybe either mom and dad's working or maybe even didn't have parents, it was worse. They just not a lot of direction. So we just thought, well, gosh, what can we do that would be something fun? It would be kinetic, hands-on, and I just so happened to have a son and a daughter that are filmmakers. So it's like, what can we do? And it just all kind of fell together by the grace of God. We just started, we thought, okay, let's do this. Let's just once a week, let's just have a class. And we started in 2019 in a borrowed church library with 4 kids, and it just took off from there. And we've been after it ever since. Yeah.
So that's awesome. I have a deep belief that 2 things are vital for kids. And I too work, I love about Carrie and Mike. They work with kids a lot. Mike is the head pro at our golf club for over 20 years. And I've been a member there since 2011, and I often go in to Mike's, to the pro shop, and there's always kids, that he gets to mentor and work with. And I watch some of the finest young men develop under Mike's care and custody and mentorship. And so I just have a huge heart for the Goves in that sense. But I just really believe with kids that if they have connection and meaningful work, a meaningful pursuit, right,
Absolutely.
Something that, and maybe something that caused them to come alive. And that, I think, when you're talking about this kinetic learners, and we're in the insurance business, but Prostar, that's our core business. We're in 10 states, but people use computers a lot. And so like there's certain team members that we've had come in over the year that it just drains them to be looking at a computer screen for 4 hours a day or however long it takes to work up quotes for their insurance and to do the work that we do in advising people. It's not just talking to people on the phone and or in person. That's a big piece of it, but you still have to look at a computer screen. And so certain learners and certain people are just people. It's like you got to find a role for them that fits. And so school in general, it seems, is to me in need for a reimagination.
Oh,
and
yes,
so
I would agree that.
And so you guys in this operation at TSP are, on the tip of the spear, along with a lot of other folks trying to find answers to the question that you're asking is why are kids falling through the cracks at such a high rate? Yeah,
exactly. Well, and plus then you have that chocolate sundae and you put the whipped cream of COVID on the top.
Yeah.
And I cannot even tell you. I would not have imagined in 2019 thinking that we were going to be providing, okay, here's kinetic learning, here's social skills. How do you, because film is incredibly collaborative. How do you learn to respect another person? How do you listen to their ideas and not, and be respectful? That you look at the best in everyone. You pull, you work with other people to pull, like you say, to pull out what they're good at. And then you have just. But then being respectful of your mentor, because these kids are going to have to learn at any job. They're going to have a boss. So, so we try to provide a mentorship that is kind and caring, but it's also like, okay, we don't ask you to pay for the classes, but we do ask you to pay attention. So, that's good. That's what we do. So we really, so you put all that together, but then you got COVID and everything was pulled out from under these kids. Life is tough enough. And then everything that they thought they could count on, public school and the structures that they were given, even the fun stuff that school provided, proms and graduations, it just evaporated. Yeah. And I think I don't, I'm not a scientist or a statistician, but I think we've all heard that even the suicide rate went up.
Depression, suicide, drug addiction.
And then instead of being with other kids and doing healthy things, they got stuck at home and now they're on social media. And we all know what social media can do to young people. It's just too much of the comparison game, too much of the, just it can really beat kids down. People, they can get bullied. It's just, there's just been so many things. And we've really seen still, we're talking it's 2023, and we're still seeing kids that are fearful, just fearful. And so we want them to know that, we're a support base for them. Sure, we're here to teach them film, but, we want to talk with them about, if they've got something that's really bothering them or, and we also, of course, work with their parents. We would not be doing anything secretively here. But the parents, too, have shared concerns. We've had parents call us up and say, gosh, would you pray for my kid? He's really struggling. And this is 2023. This is supposedly over, right? But it's not over. We've actually had 2 of our students, I've never seen this before, 2 of our students that actually developed Tourette's during COVID. And now they have, it's just hard to watch, And of course, we love them. We deal with it. Right. It was we were right in the middle of filming something and all of a sudden somebody shouts something out and you're like, okay, let's start reset. Let's start over again. Yeah. But you just, we'll take them any way they come because God loves them. He's got a plan for their life. We want to be, part of whatever that is. And even if they don't go into film, like you say, there's these technical skills. Everybody's got to have these different skills that they need. And through the sound mixing, through the editing that we do, through all the different, got photography going on now, and they've got to learn these skills that are really going to help no matter what they do. And if nothing else, almost every company needs moving pictures. The day of just having photographs on your website is gone, right?
No, you got to tell a story via video. Absolutely. You check. I'm getting excited. I didn't know Carrie's going to bring all this level of conversation, but we're going to just do it. Yeah. I really, really believe what you're saying in terms of what kids need. They need to develop skill. Okay. And so you're providing them an opportunity to develop a skill that's needed. That's what you're just hitting on. They have to have something that they're typically that makes them come alive, right? Kinetic learners doing kinetic things. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the third one that you talked about, you said it's not, the class is free, or you don't have to pay for class, but you need to pay attention, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're talking about accountability. You're talking about demanding of a kid and holding kids accountable, and the teaching them that they can be responsible for outcomes. Yeah. The thing that social media is doing, and you hit on that as well, that I have seen is exactly contrary to the idea that I have, and that I'm in the process of writing a book about, and I train companies and organizations on the idea of the process over the product, of the process over the outcome.
Right.
That social media, the comparison you talked about, is in the past and its outcome, and it's as pretty as it can possibly be presented.
Right.
There's nothing negative that's being presented. It might be the 57th selfie that kid took to get it just right. And then there's 97 filters.
Yeah.
Right? That they chose from.
Exactly.
And that took another 20 minutes. And then they posted it.
Yes.
Right? And so it's teaching, and it's causing fear, exactly what you said, because it's taking us out of the moment and putting us in a place where there's a gap, or there's a longing, there's missing, that I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And so
yes.
we're on a mission with my family, and anybody who will listen and anybody who aligns with us, to be part of the solution. And the concept that we talk about at a high level from time to time, like in order to have a solution, you got to know what the problem is, right?
Right.
It's like sometimes, somebody comes in and it's like, if I'm bleeding out of my arm, that's great. You're going to stop the bleeding, right? That's the symptom.
Right.
But you got to figure out, why am I bleeding?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
Right. So we got to get to the problem. And so the core issue is unnecessary human suffering.
I absolutely agree with you.
There's an unbelievable, the problem is unnecessary human suffering. Now, it's manifested through a variety of different mediums. And the problem with a good friend of mine used to always say, the problem with the problem is the problem. There's no problem with the solution. Mother Teresa said, I will not go to an anti-war rally, but I will go to a peace rally.
Right.
Any day of the week.
Right. Exactly.
And so it's a matter of focus. We've seen homelessness solutions come to bear at a trajectory of winning in Houston at a high rate. And their idea is they focus on housing first. In Seattle, where we just ranked last in the most recent report, we focus on homelessness. And so we get more of it. So we have to quickly get to a solution. You've just articulated a number of all those points, right?
Right.
A solution of a place where people can come, they can learn technical skills, they've got support.
Yeah.
People that care.
Exactly.
Connection.
Exactly. And I'll throw another one in there if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Self-expression. Telling stories.
Yeah.
Right. We noticed, the kids were telling all these kinds of stories, and we were doing all these, and then through 22, it was really major through 22. We were really blessed that during COVID, during 20, when the COVID was actually happening, because they went to this policy, okay, you can come back into a classroom if you only have 10 people in the room. Well, public schools couldn't do that, right? Well, guess what? All of our classes from the get-go have been maximum 6 kids, right? 3, because we're making production teams. We're, we don't want kids sitting around, so we limit it to 6 kids. And so, we had 2 teachers, 6 kids and me. So we were able to come right back into the classroom, probably one of the first organizations that did that. We were masked up. We had X's on the floor where the kids had to keep their chairs. They'd be 6 feet apart and all this. We jumped through every hoop, but we got them back in there. And I got to tell you, it was just, they started, we let them sometimes write their own movies. Okay. And it was amazing how many dark stories they told. And normally I would think, okay, what's going on in this kid's life that he really wants to talk about, tell a story about someone breaking into a house. Well, it was like story after story. And all of a sudden I realized these kids are afraid and they're expressing it. They're literally it's just coming out in their storytelling. And so we went with it. We just went with it. And we just said, okay, let's let them tell these stories. And of course, then when we would have them offset, we would just be hanging around during production time. Then that's when you can just pump a bunch of positive thoughts into them. But let them tell the story. Let them let them get it out, whatever it is. And I think that's part of, like you say, it's the process. That's the process of just learning. Taking it from. Here's who I am. Here's what I want to be. I'm not going to, just make pretty pictures of myself and put them on social media.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the fact that if I'm going to be good at something, I've got to be bad at it first.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that we have a picture out on our wall out there. It's a famous director, and I should remember his name. And not Oscar Wilde. He's Spielberg. And he says, and it basically says, the reason the movies take so long is because of the bad ideas that have to get fixed. Bad ideas that have to become good ideas. And so we just never want kids to be afraid of that.
Yeah.
And just learn and keep it going. Just keep going.
Yeah. And what, oh my goodness, tell me that's not, exactly what we're talking about is the realization of the growth mindset, right? Mm-hmm. To be able to try something and fail, to try something and fail, to try something and fail, and try something and fail.
And that doesn't mean you're a bad person or bad at some. You're going to be terrible the rest of your life. It just means you got to learn more. Yeah.
Failure is part of the process.
Yeah.
So, how old are these kids?
We were starting at 12 because that's the age of junior high. We have found though that 12-year-olds tend to be 13 is kind of the magic number. They kind of can focus a little bit longer, and they can really kind of pay attention to, because we meet once or twice a week, and so we're going to be together for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. We're doing longer sessions so the kids can really have time to really connect with what they're doing. Okay. And anyway, when you're teaching kids and you only have an hour a day, that's tough. You stop and start. Mm-hmm. So we have them for longer sessions. We found that at 12 it was a little tough, but we will take a 12-year-old that's case-based. They're really into it. They're really dedicated. They want to learn film. But mostly 13. And then we will go up to 21 to 22 only because you can now attend high school legally till you're 21. And we're not going to, if a kid's still in high school and he comes to us, and we've had kids that have been coming to classes for almost since we started, at least since 2020. And those kids will come back for a class. Maybe they won't see them for maybe a couple 3-month sessions or quarters, but then they'll come back to another class because they want to just dig back. They want to dig back in, and they, So if that is a student, we have a student like that, we don't want to push them out the door, And but when they do turn 21, it's like, well, hey, why don't you help us run this place,
Right.
Help us teach some other kids, or do you want to just make a movie? Do you want to just make a movie and we'll just do this on our off hours? We want to keep that relationship and keep them moving, and hopefully too, something we need to probably be a little better at is how can we connect these kids to jobs? Can we find internships? Can we find places for them to work once they've come through our programs? And we're still in that phase of development, I would say. Yeah, learning where they can go.
Somebody asked me once, said, John, if you could have any job in the world, what would it be? I said, hands down, CEO of Disney.
I love that.
Hands down. And
I'd love it if you were the CEO of Disney. Yeah. I would get tickets.
And the reason is they have so much influence. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about expression, and you talk about creating ideas, and Steven Spielberg, obviously, one of the highest level. They also own ESPN. They also own ABC. I mean, I can go on and on to the holdings of Disney.
Yeah.
But how vital it is, the stories that our kids hear, and then the stories that they get to tell.
Right.
And so, my daughter, I have a 13-year-old, and she is all in on Harry Potter. Yeah. And I don't know a ton about J.K. Rowling, but she's very interesting. I don't know if you've ever had. I'm sure a lot of your kids have seen Harry Potter.
Oh, sure. It was huge.
It's a pretty creative work. And they've made a lot of money. What is it about Harry Potter This is a little tangent, but from this filmmaking background that you think is like really taken.
Well, actually, it is an interesting study, but I think if we go all the way back, if you go all the way back to one of the first animated films that was ever made, Snow White.
Yeah,
you got a witch. Yeah, she can do magic.
I mean, it's
Disney.
Disney magic, right? Snow White
yeah.
This last shot.
Yeah, and I think it's just the fascination with the idea that something. With Harry Potter, it is kind of a combination of. I would say that just the adventures that kids have and all these, and some of it's the same things. I mean, you've got good, you've got evil, you've got the basic story arcs, right? Of something that is standing in Harry's way and he's got to get through it. And over the series of the films, I didn't read the books, but over the series of the films, I'm aware that the stories get a little bit darker, a little bit heavier, all the things he has to overcome. And as because those kids that are reading those books are getting older, right? She kind of wrote to a group of kids that were going to age up with her books, and so the intensity of the stories get a little bit darker and a little bit stronger. But we do have a fascination with magic. And that can be for good, for evil. You know what I mean? It's not that, but I think at the heart of Harry Potter is just he's an incredible overcomer, and I think kids really glom onto that. He's just a kid too that kind of finds out, well, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was special, and then he finds out he has something special to bring to the table that and then oh my gosh, but there's other kids like me.
Well, and you have that houses, whole, right?
Yeah.
So every kid I tell, I don't even know the names of them. Yeah. But my kid, Malby does. She's like, hey, which house would you be in?
Oh yeah.
Which house would you be in?
I know I can't answer that question.
And
either.
I don't have it either. Yeah. They'll tell me.
Yeah.
But there's something about the need for kids to have, again, connection or something they can identify with. Ideally, that's a force for good. Yeah. It's a force for overcoming. That's a force for possibility.
Oh yeah, the Marvel movies, same thing. Right. We just love these people. They're great people. That we like the characters, and then the fact they have all these incredible superpowers, all the more. Because oh my gosh, look how they can just make things change, and they can win the battle, and they can make it all. They can save everybody. It's very appealing to kids, and I think that is the challenge too. Is connecting within each child. What is it that you bring that's totally unique? And maybe it's an old-fashioned notion, but the idea that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that there's things in you that God didn't put in anybody else, and if you're gone, something huge would be missing. And we wonder how much that message is really still getting out there. That there's no accidents, there's no, there's just something amazing. You have choices, of course you have choices. But what's inside of you and who you are and all the skill sets, I think any of us that have had the privilege of raising a child discovered that, guess what? I got 3 kids. They're all different. Even though they're raised by the same parents, right, in the same environment, do a lot of the same things, they're different. And there's something inside them that makes them unique. And they bring these skills to the table, and you see it, right?
You're nailing it, though. So, like you just... So I went to Africa, and they asked me to speak to a bunch of youth leaders in Africa from 5 different countries. And this is... it was in Uganda maybe a year and a half ago. And before I went up, I wanted to meet some people and make sure I'm not just bringing a message from the States or from my upbringing, but something that can resonate, that's translatable potentially across all cultures, humanity. And so the 3 bullet points that I came up with in those 48 hours prior to actually getting up and talking, which the leader goes, "You are absolutely right. This is exactly what we needed to hear." And so, number 1 was this idea that you're unique. So if you just draw a triangle, you are unique, kids are unique. They all got something to do.
Yeah.
There's something for that kid to do.
Yeah.
And it all matters.
Yep.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Number 2 is from there, developing skills, which takes time, takes repetition, it takes failure being part of the process. Yeah. Exactly what you're talking about, Carrie.
Right.
And then number 3 is that you do have choices, and your choice you will reap what you sow. The Bible says God will not be mocked.
Yes.
The person will reap what they sow, and so that you will be held to accountable. to your choices, and you are responsible.
Yeah.
And that is the greatest responsibility. That type of responsibility is such a great endowment. And you went and did something. And I've been talking about this lately because I think it's more and more relevant. Again, history has a way of repeating itself. I think it was one of our past presidents said the worst 9 words you can hear is, "My name's Jim, I'm from the government, I'm here to help." Okay? And so...
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Run! No. But responsible, right?
Yes.
Responsibility. Now, there
you
are the
go.
real jobs
There
in
you go.
America, right? Charles Barkley says there's 5 real jobs in America: teachers and coaches, which you guys fall into, doctors and the nurses, military, police, and firefighters. The rest of us, like me, just along for the ride. But I do want to take a little tangent.
Yeah.
But I think what's crazy is I would have never guessed how spot on we are in our analysis. The only prayer is how can we continue to bring that message in a format that's tangible,
Right.
that kids can come and be a part of
Yes.
and plug in.
Yes.
And then, like you said, then become mentors forward, pay it
Yeah.
forward, so that they do the same
Absolutely.
thing and it becomes self-perpetuating. Is Carrie's married to Mike Gove. And Mike is our head pro, and I love Mike. Mike, incidentally, he played in the Masters the year I was born. Did you know that?
Really? Oh my
1980.
gosh. Well, that doesn't make me feel old at all.
1980.
No, that doesn't make me feel old at all.
So he
That's
played
okay.
in the Masters the year I was born, and he is the greatest. I mean, he's been the pro there since I joined Inglewood in 2011. But I want to hear how you guys met and kind of what the life of a pro wife is like for my Inglewood constituents that might be listening to the Prostar podcast.
Okay. Well, I'll try to get it in a nutshell because, I
40 years of marriage.
40 years. We've been married for 40 years. I met Mike. I was at the University of Washington, and a friend of mine got me a job at the front desk of Sandpoint Country Club. And at the time, Mike's parents were members there, and I didn't know any of this. I'm just coming to work every day, and in my, I think that was back in the Animal House era, so we were like, very Miffy and Buffy, and where we had our Eddie Bauer stuff on.
I was a Delta at the U, that.
Oh, were you?
Fraternity
Okay.
that was
Okay,
depicted.
yeah.
I mean, it was a different.
There you go. Yeah, I was a Kappa at the U, so
Okay.
good stuff. But anyway,
I went to a Kappa dance. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Probably drank a little too much.
Oh, that never happened in college.
Right,
None. But we met at he kept walking by the front desk, and I probably thought he was a lot older than he was because he wasn't dressed very college, with the button fly Levi's and, the penny loafers. He was not at all, somebody that I thought was, someone who would even be close to my age. He looked like he was in his 30s to me because he's wearing, he's got the polyester pants on and the golf shirt and the whole shebang.
Yeah.
But he'd stop and say hi. And finally, one night, I was getting ready to close, and he stepped in the front door and said, "Hey, you want to go out to it?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" So it was our first date. Yeah, there we go.
Where'd you go?
And we actually went to FX McRory's.
Okay.
We went to see The Jazz Singer, which was a film that came out that year. The Jazz Singer with, oh my gosh, singer, and I can't even think. Oh my gosh, I should remember that he was in it. But it was really cool. And we just that's when we started dating. And we got married in April of 1983. So that would have been like 1981. Yeah, when we met. Yep.
That's the year Adrian was born. So,
Really? Yeah.
83.
That's, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice that we can be your parents. That's great. Yeah. No, we just know it was wonderful. He was just, and he was so humble, because one of the things that, just a little caveat of our relationship, was that there was this huge loving cup, trophy on the coffee table. And one of my jobs was to keep an eye on it. Well, I had no idea what that was. I didn't know. It was just a big old silver trophy.
Yeah.
And then when I think it was like 3 weeks into dating, he finally told me, "Oh yeah, that's the Walker Cup. Yeah, that's Erica's and me." I'm like, "What?" So, and the most humble guy. He just would never blow his own horn.
Yeah.
And as you know now, to this day, he will
Yeah.
never blow his own horn.
Yeah.
So sometimes I blow it for him.
He's so steady.
He's amazing.
And you guys are so. How many kids?
Three. 3.
3 kids. I know Dougie. I've met Dougie.
Yes. He's coaching baseball back in Iowa, and then my oldest 2. So we've got a 33-year-old now, and then 33 and 30. And Chris is actually getting his master's degree in education because he figured out he loves teaching. He loves teaching film. He loves teaching, so he's doing that. And Ashley works for me. She's our what I call my director of educational programming. Okay. And she is she's actually run her own film company. She's been a wedding videographer and worked on some projects. Wow. And now she's working for her church too. She does all the video stuff there. Yeah. So, video's everywhere. You can't. There's not a company or a church or an organization that doesn't practically need to have somebody come in and film something. So that's really exciting.
So so as we wrap up, what are the biggest? What are the bigger needs for the program?
Oh my goodness! I think the vision would be we'd love to grow. The building we're in right now, it's about. Let's see, we're about 1,400 square feet. And there's enough, like in the room we're in right now, it's nice. We can do a little filming in here. We'd love to have a bigger, kind of almost like a converted garage type of a studio or a warehouse so we could really do big projects in, really put up a big green screen, let the kids really have at it, Yeah. Because we do film on location. We'll do some stuff on location. But even that, it's, we're not we don't have the income where for a lot of film to make a big movie, right? To make it like a feature-length film, it's millions of dollars, and we don't expect the kids to do that. They mostly create shorts, and that's fine. That's a great process. And if they want to enter film festivals, a lot of the film festivals only accept short films, so it's fine. But it is just that. I mean, I would say. They say, what's the old saying? Money answereth all things. And if we want to grow staff, if we want to have more programs, if we want to have a bigger building, it's really just kind of, I would say right now we pull in about between 90,000 and 100,000 a year. If we could double that at some point, I know it's a big goal, but God can do anything. Mm-hmm. And we're just kind of thinking, well, if that can happen and we can find ways to increase our income. We're hoping the podcasting will take off. We'd love to have 5 or 6 podcasters come in and use this space.
So if you're looking to podcast, if you're looking to podcast, this is a great space. They have a great crew and a great welcoming environment, and
snacks.
We're excited to be here, and they had snacks. So if you're looking to podcast, this is a great spot. Love that. Okay, and so then finally, I do want to mention. How excited I am, for what you guys are doing. And I said it on the outset, but I just don't want to reiterate. Like Prostar, we're in the business of making people's day. Okay? Mm-hmm. We happen to be really, really good at insurance. Quantitatively, our Net Promoter Score is above any national company in the country. So I know what we do very, very well. But that's not why we're in business. And I think that the partnership we have here is so similar. Yeah. Like while you need money, you need resource to provide that possibility. Right. The reality is you're in the business of changing kids' lives. And is there any, higher importance, I guess, or calling, if you will, or vocation, than changing and forming kids' lives. I don't believe there is. And so anything that we can do to support that, we're going to.
I appreciate that.
And we continue to, and we have since day one.
You already have, and we really appreciate you guys.
It's just
amazing. Thank you.
I just really love the work that's being done and the heart in which it's being done. There are people who talk about there being problems in the world, and then there's people who are answers. Mm-hmm. And so people talk about how Mother Teresa, and she didn't make any money. That's not true. There was a lot of money and people who got behind Mother Teresa and that work. Absolutely. And this is contemporarily as relevant of an idea to tangibly impact the community.
Yeah, and we know we'll ride this as long as we can and make it as big as we can. by having Ripple Ministries as kind of the parent, the bigger organization, and then the Teen Storytellers Project is one program that's inside of it. Well, then now we have an umbrella, and under that umbrella we could do auto repair, or we could do, we could add a whole bunch of stuff, photography and podcasting, and you name it. Yeah. Whatever kids want to learn, just all kinds of different skills and just whatever. Yeah, I mean, and sometimes things just present themselves. Someone will come along and say, "Hey, I'd like to teach." And you're like, "Okay, let's figure out how to get you plugged in." And so we just feel like it can all happen. Because really we're about 4 to 5 years old when it comes to how much we've been doing the work. We formed in 2017, but our first golf tournament, we hadn't done a thing yet. We just had to have the money to do it. And and Mike and I, we'll never take a salary from this. We just love it. It's our passion, and we just want to make sure that the funds are going into the programming, and the necessities. You have to have a building, and you have to have a place to store your equipment, and you have we pay our staff because they're pouring their heart and soul into it, and they honestly, realistically, to teach higher tech jobs, you can't expect if someone comes along who's retired and they can do it for free, that's great. But the people that have the more current information are younger people, and they can't work for free. So we just have to make sure that we're doing it in a way that the kids are going to get the best of what they can learn and move forward with.
How do people get a hold of you?
It's really pretty. We have a website, www.teenstorytellers.org. That's got a lot of information. My wonderful communications person, Morgan, is fixing that and is going to make it amazing. So it's going to be even better than it is now. We are also, we also can, because there's email, we are on Instagram, but really just, reaching out to us, all of the information. I take phone calls on my personal phone number. I don't even worry about, oh no, you use your own phone number? I said, yeah, people need to reach me. So the students, the parents, the staff, everybody can reach me on my number, and we can also, and that is also on the website. There's a form on the website that allows people to just say, we want to be in contact with you, just a contact form. They fill that out. So that's probably the main way that we contact it. Now, if you want me to say my phone number on the podcast, or just, let's 425-308-8931. That's my phone number. We also have Carrie at rippleministries.org. Super easy to remember. It's just my name at rippleministries.org. Send me an email. We'll communicate with anybody and get them plugged in. Yeah.
The next thing she's going to do? Teach. Right?
Well, I love teaching. I love teaching.
Coming, right?
Yes. My problem is my age. I actually went to broadcasting school. The University of Washington had a radio television wing of their School of Communications. I graduated in radio, television, broadcasting. Problem is, we were just analog. I'm analog. We're talking 1983.
Yeah.
The digital world has passed me by.
Wow.
So now, as executive director, I buy the snacks and I clean the toilets.
But you got kids coming. Coming. We're going to greet them.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to meet a few kids.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah.
As Morgan's telling us, we got 1 minute. So, in closing, Ripple Ministries, teenstorytellingproject.org.
Yep.
Please do connect. We're on a mission to help people who are doing good do good, and we're grateful for this space. We're grateful for this time. Grateful for you taking action. For you that are listening to this is the heart of Prostar. If you got an idea, do it. Yeah. If you got because failure is part of the process. Yeah. Fear, what you talked about earlier, keeps so many people from just taking action. Yeah. And then the people with the peaceful lives like Carrie have, okay, when like you said, our staff, etc. Getting, you've been working for a while. I'm not going to age you totally, but you've been at it. But I've met a lot of people who have been in the marketplace for a season and a period of time, and they just flat out do not have the peace and the joy and the excitement and the passion and the possibility that you do. And so I just
and it's not being about being an expert. Yeah, and it's not being about being an expert at anything. That's great, but are you available? Are you just
availability
available?
is an asset.
I know you just, there's somebody higher and bigger than me that can tell me what to do on a daily basis. And,
We'll take volunteers.
Yeah, there we go. So absolutely. So yeah, it's just okay. Take one little, how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Don't try to, you don't have to beat the world. You just have to start. Yeah.
And you guys are doing it.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Carrie.
Well,
Great
thank
to be
you.
with you.
Thank you. This has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the
Appreciate it.
Prostar Podcast. Thanks, Morgan, for the production. We will see you next time.